Dylan, go.
Hey guys.
Oh, I'm going this time?
No, we messed it up already. Go, Jack.
Go ahead, Jack.
Hey guys, welcome to this episode of Midwest Talk. So, are you feeling depressed about being too old and not buying your first rental property yet? Well, what if we told you that the average age of the rental property in the nation has gone up? So maybe by chance you're not a loser and you shouldn't be so hard on yourself.
I think that's a good way to intro that topic.
Yeah. Strong entrance.
So, just right off the bat from that stat that we were looking at was the average age of a buyer right now is 56. The average age of a first-time buyer is 38. What are you guys thinking about that? Because we had just seen that in 1981, the average home buyer was 31 years old.
So one of my biggest things is about this topic is the fact that I think, and I don't have any evidence to necessarily prove it, but other more smart people than me have said this, and I've seen it with my own eyes too, that people of the age gap that are talking about, like your pre 40 age people, for the most part, only know interest rates of like a lower interest rate, and they're not thinking about for the past 100 years, if you the average interest rate is actually 12.5%. And if you want to look at it from the 70s to the present, it's actually 8 point something. I think it's like 8.5, 8.25, somewhere in there. But knowing that, and knowing that and I think that people are so used to seeing 2, 3, 4 because we ran with it for a good while. People are waiting for the interest rates to drop. And let's face it, since the great Achu medical thing that happened back in the 2019, 2020, it really skyrocketed the price of homes, where the price of wages hasn't gone up as much. So it makes it harder to get the down payment. But I think also people want to buy houses the same way that their parents did, just using 20% down, conventional financing. That they're using their parents and their grandparents' rusty old axe, not realizing that there's a chainsaw sitting right next to them trying to cut down a great oak tree.
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
when I think about the what's going on, I think about immediately. I'm like, why is that happening, right? But and then I go and look at the stats, and then I see that the credit card debt has increased significantly, student loan debt has increased significantly, way more so than inflation, right? Tuition from colleges have increased over 500% on the last like 20 years since like the 2000s. And to me, that's like a lot of telling because, in 1980, the average American was carrying student loan debt of like less than $5,000. Now, student loan debt of the average person that went to school is like $44,000. That is insane to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of things like that are dragging down on their ability to afford things. So you may consider going to school optional or where you go to school optional. I would say it is depending on what you're wanting to do for a career. People are picking up a lot of debt that way. Another way I see a lot of people picking up debt is buying cars that are outside of what they really need to live, or extending the term of the financing because they can't afford the normal payment. So let's say you just went and got like a car like I have, like a Honda Civic, and you were looking at the 4-year payment and saw that it was like $400 a month. And you're like, well, you know what? I can afford this easier if I go put it on a 72-month term. Well, now you've just indebted yourself for that much longer, making it that much more difficult. I forget exactly what the stat is, but I want to say rate dependent. Like every $200 in debt that you have decreases your purchase ability for properties by about $50,000. So every little thing really counts when you're trying to get your first property. And honestly, if you can find something to get on that ladder, I think that's going to be more important than anything. Like just getting that first step onto a property and being able to start building equity. And then you can, if you want to upgrade that property over time, you can, transfer as you go every few years. buy a fixer upper, live in it, move it to the next house, and so on. You don't have to be real estate investors like us, but there's ways to get it done at a way younger age than what we're seeing on average.
Well, also don't forget you can house hack too. And by house hack, we're not saying you need to be in like a sharing, your the bedroom down the hallway with someone. It's too broad of a term, and you could buy a fourplex and rent out the other 3 rooms. And if you're like, I don't want to share a wall with someone, well, you can do like I forget he's on Dion's channel here and there, but you can or Lindsay right there on your computer screen. Look at Lindsay. You could do like her and put an ADU in your backyard.
Yeah.
I've never gotten the I don't want to share a wall with my tenants thing, because people live in apartments every day. That people will say, "Oh, you can't live in a duplex when you have a family." There's families that live in apartments. I don't get it, but whatever. You'll never convince them. They'll try to make every excuse they can not to do it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I mean, I don't know. I've been in apartments and stuff. You learn to sleep through the stuff. You learn. I don't know. You might have to talk to them for 30 seconds once a month. Like you don't have to be BFFs with them.
Yeah, I was watching one of Mark's lives too, and then in terms of like sacrifice, right? Like it all depends on how much you want to sacrifice when you're talking about house hack. And then I understand like Dylan and Jack, both of you are single, you don't have kids or a family. So it's like your decision for yourself. So it's very easy to make. But when you have family, it's a little more complicated because you only have to take. No, it's not just your decision. You have to convince your significant other or your kids or whatever, and then that might be more difficult. But there was a person that was on the live that said he was living on $600 a month because his house hack had pays for his mortgage, and every other bill that he has only amounts to $600 a month. He lives in the state of Montana. It's like Midwestern town. Do you guys think that's a feasible budget for you, since you are like kind of on the same, male, not like no family at this time? Do you think that's a possibility to live off $600 a month?
No, I spend
No,
like even though I just tried to conserve as much as possible, I think I still spend like $2,500 to $3,000 a month. Now I do have a fiance that lives with me, but I mean she effectively makes some of the things cheaper because she buys groceries and then I pay all the other bills like utilities, rent, all that stuff. Um, so yeah, I mean, in some places, I think that's feasible, and I've seen people that have done the van life and stuff like that. Or, if you want to be a little bit more off grid, or you can find something really cheap, you could probably. But I feel like $600 a month is really, really difficult, unless he means like his expenses are 2,400, 2,500, or maybe 3,000. Then he's got $600 extra every month that he needs to pay. How was it said? Was it like that, or he was saying all expenses were $600?
I took it as like what Lindsay said.
Wow, no
Mhm.
way.
Yeah,
My
exactly.
my my health insurance is like
Exactly.
$300 a month.
I'm not paying for health insurance right now, but I, as a single person, to have just general like 75, which is like silver plan, 25 co-insurance kind of thing, was like $500 a month for me for like
Yeah,
the majority of like 5 years.
yeah. It's no that I think is impossible unless he may have an employee. Does he work for somebody, like has an employer that may pay his insurance?
He's gonna go back to, because everybody on the chat was calling like BS basically for him. There's no way you only spend $600 a month, but he's gonna come back and do the breakdown apparently bill by bill, because I guess a lot of people are like dumbfounded, like how is that possible? He said that he has a girlfriend that pays for groceries, and groceries in itself is only $200 a month, which I'm like also BS on the grocery
I
list.
I don't know. Like I think personally, like if all my debt was taken care of and I only had No, because I still don't think I could swing it. Even if I moved out of Pittsburgh, where I know that the price of stuff is cheaper, and I gardened all my vegetables, and I decided to live more of a frugal lifestyle and lived off the land, I don't think I could pull off $600 a month.
Comfortably, right? Like I think just existing without a mortgage, it's still being extremely frugal, $2,000 a month for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, like even if I lived in my triplex and the property was paid off, I think my taxes alone are still like 200 and something dollars a month, and then my insurance is like another 100, and then you throw on my what do you call it? Health insurance on top of that. I'm already at 600.
Hmm.
So
Uh-huh.
I mean, I will love to see this guy's breakdown because I might learn a few things. I know I switched from AT&T to Mint Mobile because it cut my bill in half. I should put that link in the chat.
Yeah, refer away.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
definitely want to applaud Kyle Dorns, who we're talking about. I definitely want to applaud him and be like, good job. You've made it. And I don't think any of us are like, no, we don't believe you. I think it's just like we just want to see the numbers.
I want to see how he did it because
And we kind of don't believe him because we want to see the numbers. If we believed them, then we wouldn't need to see the numbers.
Yeah,
Right?
well, I think part of what it can be is when I did my budgeting for leaving my job, I I looked at everything together, and you build a budget, but there's some things that just come up that are not part of that budget, where you end up spending substantially more money than, not crazy amount more, but if he thinks it's 500, like he may be spending like 11, $1,200 a month or something like that. I don't know. Maybe he can bring the receipts, the Excel sheets, everything, itemized list of all of his stuff.
Credit card lined up, please.
Yeah.
I want to know. Do you know go to the movies? Do you know buy popcorn? Like what's going on?
I need to see this, Kyle, because I went out to dinner last night because I was celebrating being back in Chicago from my like 5-day trip from Alberta back to here, and the bill for that, it was 3 people, but it was like $350 because we went to like a nicer spot, and I'm like, that's like half of what you're talking about spending in a month.
Yeah, no, I think that's why, you know, how we feel like a little bit like, oh, that's something that we can do. That's how people feel when we say you need to house hack or you need to live,
Yeah.
you need to rent an out room because they can't even imagine. But then they're faced with the reality of us, which we house hack in the past. We moved like into, you know, I'm building an ADU, and then they feel like that's so out of reach, but it's not. Just the same way we're feeling with like Kyle when he says $600 a month is enough for me to survive.
Mark's
And
gonna be
I'm
on me.
comfortably. I mean, I feel like comfortable. I don't know, but
You see Mark in the chat. He's gonna be on me about that for a while. Mark, I'm still not feeling great. But yeah, I think there's other ways to do this too, because like you don't have to be a real estate investor to buy a house. You don't even have to want to be a real, well, you are technically, like once you buy something. I don't consider the personal residence a investment. I actually, like, if you compare the two, I think in some cases renting is better right now. But
So, what do you think about like someone that does like the Mindy Jensen thing, where they buy a property, they add value to it, and she sells them, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
well,
and then would you consider that an investment?
so yes, it's like an intentional way of building up to the house that you want to have at some point. There's a guy on Bigger Pockets. I can't think of his name. He's like a really big flipper in the Pacific Northwest. But he talks about doing that with his personal residences. Like over time, he's flipped from like a smaller property all the way up to where he's at now, where he has like a really nice property, and he's built a portfolio and stuff like that. I can't think of his name. All I can remember is he's got blonde, spiky hair and like really white teeth.
Mm.
You know what I'm
You kind of described Guy Fieri.
Guy Fieri. Yeah. I just saw him on the Andrew Santino podcast recently. But what I was saying earlier is I think that even if somebody doesn't want to be a real estate investor, what they can focus on is at least minimizing their expenses and focusing on really building up their active income to be able to buy a property sooner. And I think another thing that will help people get on the property ladder sooner is if where you want to live may be too much for what you can spend at the time. Look a little bit further out, and there's plenty of properties that you can find at cheaper price points. It's just not always where everybody wants to live. But if you really want to get on the property ladder, I think it's worth making some sacrifices to be able to get started.
Mhm.
Yeah, another thing that I also got from when I was like looking up why are people being older when they're buying their first residence home is like people are just waiting for the major life milestones like getting married, having children. And then it seems like in our generation, like people are just waiting longer and longer, like they're getting married later and later, having children later and later. How do you guys feel about that?
So I feel like this dives into greatly what Simon, the uneducated economist, talks about, and I'm going to greatly butcher it. So if you really want to know what I'm talking about, go watch his channel. Just almost any episode, he'll bring this up at least once. But what you're kind of describing is the Cantillon essay, and I'm sure he's probably cringing because I've always mispronounced it, and he's like, "It's not Cantillon, it's whatever." But anyway, the Cantillon essay, and it talks about a number of different things, but one of the chapters talks about the people will in order to keep are afraid of losing what they have or what they started with as far as their wealth and stuff. So like if you started in a class B neighborhood, you don't want to go down to class D neighborhood. So you prolong having children and stuff because children are such a huge expense and will drag you down wealth wise. And you don't do it intentionally. It's just something you as a person, because you're just like you don't have kids be like, I'm going to have kids so I can go negative. Like I'm going to have kids and give them everything I wish I had and push them forward in life in ways that I never had. So you hold off until you have the ability and the means to do that.
Mhm.
J6 said or Yasik, sorry. I'll make sure to get that right. Said he's siding with Mark here.
I can't see any of the comments, so you guys will have to read them to me.
Well, they're razzing me for missing the Gen Z call. I was throwing
It's called
up.
bullying.
Yeah. No, it's all good. It's all good. They wouldn't do it if they didn't like me.
That's what your parents told you when people were picking on you. Oh, it's
What?
because they like you.
Well, no, I just know I do it to my friends too. Like I wouldn't bully people for fun if I didn't like them. It's all to push us to be a little bit better, or when we do something that we probably shouldn't do. Um, but I also think Jack that is it's something that we see in a lot of countries. Like Japan has an issue with this right now.
Oh
Korea
yeah,
has an
yeah.
issue with this right now.
I'm not saying it's just a U.S. thing. Like
Oh,
Cantillon, the
not.
Cantillon essay was written in I think it was somewhere in England way back. eh, Um, I forget what the year was, but it was actually one of the first recorded articles written about business and economics ever. So to see that a lot of probably like a good 9% of what he wrote about actually still stands to today is incredible. Like it's actually I don't think it's written on paper. It's written on some other form of like it's not clay tablets because that's way too old. But like you get what I'm saying. It's old. It is old, older than old.
So what I've seen, if you look at like older civilizations, and I don't mean older civilizations as in like Rome or anything like that. I mean like if you look at Japan or Korea, um, places that have been in existence much longer than us. As education continues and more people become educated, it seems like they have kids later and later. and that has a destructive effect on the reproduction in the country. So then you start to have declining populations instead of increasing populations. I think we have the potential for that in the United States. So I'm trying to not wait a really long time to have kids. I think if anybody is a hard worker, I mean, not that everybody shouldn't have kids, but I'm saying if you're a hard worker and you're trying to build businesses and everything, or just working hard at your job, whatever, building your portfolios, like you kind of have a responsibility at some point. Not that you have to, but I think everybody that does work hard should have kids so we can continue to enforce like those standards going forward in future generations of like work hard, do the right thing, and just continue to grow the population. Hopefully that doesn't eventually become a problem, but I think I'll be long gone before that is.
Yeah, no, I think that the same. I think that when I talk to like women my age, like you said, the more educated they are, the less likely they're willing to like go into, because then you have to leave the workforce, right? You have a child,
Mhm.
then you have to be off work, then that takes, the whole thing becomes of like, we're going to go down to one income, right? Even when you have the 6 weeks that you get off work, that's still not your full paycheck, right? You're going to go down to an income. And then after that, when you go back to the workforce, then you have childcare costs. And that's a reality. Childcare is insanely expensive if you don't have family, extended family, or like a community backup before you, which, your parents also would have to miss work. So it's like a whole change of like, they are expensive. Kids are expensive. And it's a major, more so than I think I don't want to have children. It's more like, well, how many jobs are I going to have to juggle to have children, kind of thing as well.
Yeah, no, I do tend to feel bad for women on that, just because like a lot of them, like I think of 25 to 35, like right in that window is where you're like really accelerating your career, and that's where a lot of them have to have kids, because that is like one of the, well, between like whatever it is, 18 to 35 or something like that is the better time, really. I feel like you want to do it sooner rather than later, but they're not able to be in their careers at like some of the peak time for career acceleration. So it can be pretty destructive on your career, and I do think you could tie that back into real estate. That's another really good reason to have other things that make you money, because even if you have to take 9 months off, or a year off, like when your kid's first born, and you don't want to, leave them with somebody else to take care of them, you have the ability to do so. Trying to think of, yeah, I don't know. That's my opinion on the whole thing. Yeah. Well, and do you guys have you guys looked at the cost of childcare? Like how, like if a woman were to essentially go back to work and then put their kid in childcare, like depending on what their job is, they could be paying half of their income or more just in childcare. So
Yeah.
it's like, why? I hate to say why even have them work, because not everybody has that luxury, but like it almost makes sense. Like if you have 2 or 3 kids, to just not have your spouse work, and like what if they want to have a career and everything too? It makes it really, really difficult. And I think that's part of the whole education thing that we have going on in the country too. Just the further people are educated, the more difficult it is to actually accomplish a lot of like the nuclear family kind of thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, not that it's a bad thing. I mean, if women prefer career over that, I mean, more power to you. But it is
Yeah,
what
what
it is.
about you, Jack? Are you waiting to have children?
Me and Cynthia can't.
Oh, okay. Is that adoption in your future?
Maybe we're just trying to get to at least financial independence and get out of this current project of Cynthia's, because like there's no way to have a kid in that house with the layout and stuff. So we're trying to find another place, get the financial independence, get that one rented out, and if we do adoption, we're thinking about doing like like an overseas one or something like that.
Prime example, like you're waiting for your financial situation to get even more, set before even thinking about moving on to the next stage of your relationship.
Yeah.
I just set a deadline for myself, which is incredibly stressful. Nobody should do that. But I just said whether I'm completely financially free, like never have to walk into a job again or not. 30 is kind of my deadline because she'll be 28, and I'm trying to not push it too much further than that because I actually do want to not be like 65 years old going to like the kindergarten or something like that. You know what I mean?
So not to go off topic, but that's what happened to my uncle.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of funny and it's weird, but like I'm actually the age that where the typical dad is for his son, and my uncle is in like his mid 50s and his son is 10.
Yeah, I'm trying to. So, like, for context in my family, generally everybody's had a kid around 18 to 22. So, my grandpa is 71. Yeah, it was just his birthday, actually. We literally had his party today. So, he turned 71. My dad is 44, and I am 27. So, we have very small age differences, which I think allows you to
What are you
like
doing, Dylan? The age gap is too large between you and your son. You need to
Yeah,
get
I
on
know.
it. You should have had one when you were 12.
I know. That's where I'm lacking right here. I need to start having multiple. But I think it's kind of good to have it like that because then you can actually spend a lot of time with everybody. And instead of people being too old to go do things like, we're all within 20 years of each other. Well, 20 and then 20. So I think that's cool. I just don't think it was for me just because of what I was trying to do and what I'm trying to build beforehand. But it's on its way. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, for both of you guys, I think it's like when you do decide to have children, the amount of like time you're going to be able to dedicate to the child is also like, how cool is that going to be that you're going to be there for every single function because you are financially independent at that time, right?
Yeah, and that's really what I wanted to be able to do. And then take them to like the construction sites and stuff like that for the jobs. Teach them like how you make money and all that. What do you know when you're looking at doing that, Lynn?
Children,
Yes.
I have 2 cats and 1 dog, and that's it.
Oh, so you're not at all.
No.
Oh, who's gonna take care of you when you're older?
Oh, I don't know. I'm imagine some money is gonna go into that. And I don't know.
That's very fair. Yeah, no, that was why I wanted to have 4 because
4 children.
yeah, I know I'm gonna divide the money up 4 different ways, but it doesn't matter at that point anyways. Well, 5 different ways, I guess. I wasn't counting somebody in that one. But yeah, I think I don't know, that's just good. And then I have like, I have people that can assist with stuff as I get older. My eventual goal was to like hand off a portfolio that they can manage if they want to. If they don't want to, they can just get like cash or something like that, or like some sort of annuity. I just want to do something that isn't like I just handed like a 30-year-old like $5 million and said, go have fun, you know? But we shall see. Oh, Yasik, I will have to talk to you about that because I actually don't know what that is.
What?
Or is he saying have one kid at a time?
Yeah, don't have twins.
I did talk to my fiance and I said, it would be significantly faster if we could just have twins twice. And she said, absolutely not. I said,
Like it's
okay, I know it's more dangerous, so let's not even shoot for that, but we really don't have a choice. If it does happen, it does happen. I do think, oh, sorry.
No, back to the topic.
Yes, yes. So aging, like the population is aging that is able to buy properties. Have you guys like talked to some of the people that are doomers around this? Because I always point like I'll pull out Redfin and I'll start going to properties. They're like, you can't find anything under X price, and then I'll just go out 30 minutes. And I'm like, wow, I just found $100,000 house, $150,000 house that you could buy,
Mhm.
but it's not exactly what you want it to be. Okay, well, fix it.
Yeah. I think like for the people that I know that are my age and then in their 30s that are not like looking to buy a home, it's just like they're keep waiting for that thing to happen, like the market crash. I don't know if they follow the rumors or they actually talk about, but like they are convinced that there's going to be a time which is going to where it's going to be affordable to buy. Obviously, I live in a higher cost of living area, and it takes more over here to qualify for a mortgage, right? But it's just I think that the mentality I try to put myself also like when I purchased in 2019, my income only like was able to purchase up to a 600K house when I was here. But let's say I was right now 2025, the same income, I would be able to purchase any houses. I would have to do a townhouse or a condo if I had the same income right now. Uh, but that would be a step ladder. Like I would just have to accommodate my strategy, right? Like I wouldn't be able to get a purchase house, but I would able to get into a condo or a townhouse or something like that. So that's like I think that things that they don't want to do, like those sacrifices that they don't want to do. Okay, maybe your first property is not going to be a house, maybe it's going to be a townhouse, but it's still going to be something that you built pulling equity into instead of like waiting. I know you for the last 6 years, and then every year like the market is going up and down, but it's never like crashed like 2008. I feel like everybody's waiting for 2008 again.
I
Yeah,
think everyone's waiting for the 2008 because that's all that a lot of people know is the 2008 crash. And yeah, it was horrible. And I'm not taking anything away from it. I mean, we all probably have our stories of different things that we had to do in that time frame, but they have nothing else to compare to. So it's either, and I don't even mean like anything worse. I mean like anything mild even, because it's just like, so all they have is the great financial crisis of '08, and then there's really nothing else to compare it to, because like in a lot of people's minds they forget about '96 and the internet crash, and they forget about the 2000s with the medical alert 19 and everything that happened. I'm gonna start calling it the life alert 19. I like that term. But so they forget about life alert 19,
Life
but
alert.
they forget about all the minor blimps, and they just go to the worst possible thing they could think of, which is the GFC of '08.
Mhm.
And I'm sure like pre GFC, like if you're talking to like our grandparents or even our great grandparents, they'd be saying it's going to be like the depression all over again. So it's just whatever the worst thing you could possibly have imagined in your lifetime, and that's your reference point.
yeah, that's what I notice a lot. And I think the funny thing is, if they were just to try to get a good deal on a property at today's prices, you'd be far ahead even if we had a market crash. Because if you're getting a 20% discount on a property or 30% discount on a property and the market crashes, like what is the maximum crash? I thought the maximum crash during 2008 was like 50, not 50%, sorry. Wasn't it like 20% on houses? Or it was something across the board. I'm sure there's some markets that got absolutely decimated, but
The
across the board,
worst city, if I recall correctly, that was affected, I think, was Las Vegas and a couple other cities on the West Coast. And then it was there's a number of cities obviously that were affected greatly, but I think the worst ones were like Las Vegas. There's like one or two more on the West Coast, and there were several on the East, and then like Chicago and one or two in Texas. But I mean, those were affected a lot worse. And I'll give you a prime example. Okay, so like you have cities like Las Vegas that I don't know what they depreciated. We'll say something, whatever it is. But then you have other cities like Pittsburgh that during the GFC, all the years combined only dropped a total of 6%.
Oh.
So I actually just looked up the stat while you were going through that. The
Yeah.
average house price drop in 2008 was 15.3%, and that's the S&P Inc. / Case-Shiller Index. The NAR reported a full median existing home price drop of 9.5%. So
What was the top cities affected? I'm just curious.
I know California took a hit of like 40 to 60% in some areas, which that's crazy.
Sorry, I got to mute because my keyboard is so loud.
So they click all that fancy clicking is annoying you already.
Well, no, I can't do it. I can't have that going on while we're doing a podcast. Florida saw 49% crash, California 42%, 60% in Nevada. But if you're getting a 20-30% discount and then you're putting 20% down, like you've already got a 50% equity position in the property. I think it's going to take a lot to put you upside down on a property. And that's why I don't really like when people listen to doomers, even though I know it's a very attractive thing to listen to because it just gives you the opportunity to sit on the sidelines and justify sitting on the sidelines. But you can find something that makes sense in almost any, I'd say any state. It's just not going to be exactly where you want it to be. It's not going to look like you want it to be right away. And you could find a property by the end of the year if you just get creative with what you're willing to deal with or how far you're willing to drive and so on.
And also the market conditions are not the same. Like why did 2008 happen? It's because of all those negative arm jumbo loans that were being sold to us, like no money down, no closing, like no proof of income verification. Now you have to like go through extreme measures for like escrow with any type of loan. You have to like go back. Why is there a $5,000 cash on your statement account like 3 months ago? Like it's insane.
Yeah.
The GFC kind of reminded me of like the sleazy car salesman that's twirling the banners like, no money down, we get you into our house today, no questions asked, you get to live for free, minus the mortgage payment. Here you go.
Oh my, yeah, and I think there was a lot of I don't want to say misrepresentation of a lot of the facts, but just like not fully disclosing things to consumers, which is why we got a lot of new laws and such that came out of the GFC. Like I want to say Dodd-Frank was one of the ones that came out of that, which is about financial disclosures. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm pretty sure that one was a direct result of that and just causing the banks to have to disclose a lot more to consumers because I mean people were just getting decimated on those step up the loans that step up, but then also the adjustable rate mortgages. I do see that Lars said, as someone who wants to buy rentals, I love that more and more people wait for a market crash because it creates renters and less competition for buying rentals. Yeah, I could say I agree with that. I just don't like seeing people that actually want to do it sitting on the sidelines and just like depressed that they can't find anything because when there's a will to do something, you can figure out a way. It's just not going to be the best way right away. Like, yeah, you might have to buy your first property 45 minutes out of town. If you're not okay with that, maybe this isn't for you.
Yeah, I hate to see like, for example, friends of mine that have the means and they qualify for the mortgage, and even when they live in a higher cost of living here, they're like waiting for like they're waiting for somebody to like almost save them, right? Like, oh, when I get married, I'll know where I live. When I have children, I'll know what school districts I will want to put my children in, and that's when I'm gonna buy a house. Meanwhile, prices are skyrocketing, like their appreciation is going up. You're missing on that. You're like putting money into rent, and like most likely lower rent, but you're also not putting that money away to like invest either. So like I hate to see that happen.
Yeah. No, I agree. I feel like I have plenty of people that are the same way. Like I'm the only one of my friends besides my business partner. Well, actually, no, my other friend owns a house too. I know a lot of people that don't own houses that are my age, and part of it is just a product of like one getting student loan debt and then buying a brand new car and just spending the money that they have, and then they have their apartment and so on, and they just never got a chance to get on the property ladder. I mean, it sucks to see. And then there's say, oh, well, a crash is coming sometime soon because my dad and my grandpa told me to. And it's like, well, maybe they're wrong. Well, even if they're right, I really don't care because I'm going to keep buying through every cycle. Lars has a question. He said, if you had a chance for a 3% yield in a market that is normally negative 6% and 40K of automatic equity that will likely increase by 10% for repairs, or buy in a different market with a 7% yield but low appreciation? That is the question. That is a good question. I think, at least for me, I'll just answer this really quick, then I'll defer to you two. It depends on how much money that I'm putting down to make that 40K in equity, because I can't spend equity, and I feel like 3% yield is a very small yield that can get wiped away by like minimal expenses that come up. However, if I'm looking at doing this over a shorter period of time, like a few years, you might be able to factor that 40K into the yield and say, okay, it's not actually a 3% return on my money. I'm getting like a 10 or 12% or 15% return on my money if it takes us 3 years to realize that. All in all, in the current situation in my portfolio, I prefer to go with a property that has 7+% cash on cash yield.
Yeah, I would agree. I would try to factor in the amount of work that I'm gonna do, because it says like you're gonna do repairs, and if your 7% appreciate 7% return is like no repairs, ready to go kind of thing, that's like a low effort kind of deal. But if your repairs are gonna give you more equity, and then you have the possibility to raise that 3%, let's say in the next year to like 10% or 7%, then that would be more appealing to me if there was like more room for that rent to increase more so by adding a room, or thinking of like, I don't know what Dion says, but put a storage room on the back and rent it out for an additional $100 a month. That's like I would think of uh, those things and the amount of work involved in the deal.
Um, so I have a little bit of an unfair advantage with this question, especially from Lars. So I was kind of waiting to go last, but I think it really comes to more what is more important to you, in the sense of, do you want to finish your primary objective or do you want to finish your secondary objective? I believe from talking to you in the past that you are planning on working until you're in your 60s, and I could be wrong about that. But if that's the case, and you have more time to build your your B objectives, which would be being in this market here and not so much in Delaware, if that and you can get to what you want done in Delaware first. So it ultimately, the decision is yours. But if you're happy with where you're at and you're working and doing your dream job, then you're probably not so much in a rush for retirement, but you're looking for a better retirement. So that's something I would think about, is what do you are you looking for a better retirement? Or are you looking to cash flow and be done with work altogether? And if you do get to the point where you're able to retire off your rentals and you focus on this market heavily first, but you're still not done with your primary objective in Delaware, it may make things harder to get to get the last one or two houses in Delaware. So that's what I would think about.
Hmm. That is true. I don't do such a good job of like thinking of my long-term goal when I'm looking at deals because I'm thinking always of the cash flow, but you do have to look at like your long-term goals are like how does this deal fit into your end goal?
Yeah,
I
I don't
just want
think
to have coffee. I just want to have coffee in a campground and blast chipmunks with a shotgun. That's all I want.
sound like a true Southerner, Jack.
Oh, come on! I'm not going to have rough cut lumber. I'm going to have that nice stuff. That you'd pay like $6 a board for.
Yeah,
Dylan wants 4 children, so he has to work more, okay?
I have to work really hard. And well, I mean, my objective is also to have a stay-at-home wife. So I mean, I got to work that much harder.
Mhm.
4 kids plus stay-at-home wife. That's why you got to have 2 jobs.
Yeah, that coffee is like $30 for everybody now.
Oh, what? Going to Starbucks?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm used to my
You
dad
should
doing
just get
that.
Graham Stephan's coffee. It's like maybe a nickel and a stone, and you're golden.
I thought he closed down his coffee company. By the way,
I'm pretty sure he did too. Yeah.
I wanted to say hi to Hard Hats to Rentals because they've been saying hi to you in the chat, and I don't think you have your chat pulled up. But they asked you about fishing too, if you'd be interested in fishing besides blasting chipmunks on the campground.
Yeah. I definitely love fishing. I actually really enjoy fly fishing. Am I good at it? Is a completely different question. But I definitely enjoy fly fishing a lot, and using bait casters and stuff. My goal every year is the same goal every year, which is I want to catch my first muskie, and that muskie just keeps eluding me every single year.
Nice, nice. I think I'd like to build one where I can automate the rental portfolio that I have here in Indianapolis, and just uh, build something that I really don't have to work to pay for all my lifestyle expenses and everybody else's lifestyle expenses. But then I can continue to build things that I like to build, and just keep growing businesses and stuff like that. I don't know. I've always liked doing things that are a little bit bigger than me, whether that's building a business or something. Like when I was running my last agency, I thought it was cool that we had as many people working on the teams as we did, and we were able to like pay for so many people to have like above average lifestyles, and because we did a lot of outsourcing, so a lot of the people we worked with were in the Philippines, and we were able to provide pretty good lifestyles for them before I left that company. I mean, they're still working for them, and they would send me like videos and stuff like that of them like doing donations and stuff or like buying their first cars, because a lot of them are like 30, 40 years old and never owned a car before. And I thought that was really cool. But yeah, so I think that's why I do it, is just the portfolio, build it up to where I can cover all my stuff just so I can focus on building bigger things. And chill on the beach a little bit. That's cool too.
Right.
What about you?
The end goal?
Yeah, what's your end goal?
I feel like it's changed over the last 3 years. And initially, like I wanted to get out of my W-2 and not do anything because I think I was just burned out and overwhelmed, and just like not doing anything sounds good. And then now I'm seeing myself of like moving into my own business and then working less per se, like less hours per week, but doing the rest on the side. But I also have like the dream of like living in different countries and learning a new language and do van life and do things like that of like are just not tethered to anything particular. Just the rentals, that's the permanent thing.
Yeah, no, that sounds sweet. I feel like a lot of people that are on that like on the journey have kind of similar goals. Everybody wants to do something a little bit different, but I feel like a lot of it is just slowing down more than what we're all used to doing. I did want to mention this one, Jack, because I know you don't have your chat open. Hard Hats to Rentals said, well, when I have enough rentals, I'll join you fishing for muskies. By the way, this is Stephen Coyote. We are in
Oh, okay.
yeah,
I'll put it on
starting
the
YouTube channel. Oh, there you go. Thank you.
Stephen Coyote. Is he in school?
I forget if he's in school, but I know he's really. I believe he is, but he's really into like watching Dion. He's a subscriber of mine. He bounces. I've seen him over at Mark's channel and stuff. He likes to leave comments and stuff. But yeah, he's a cool guy.
Nice. Well, I just wanted to make sure we acknowledge that because I know you're on your phone, so it's a little bit harder to see the chat.
Yeah, I don't know why, but when like it for some reason it's glitched up and it doesn't look normal. And like I have like the whole web browser and stuff up there and it won't go away. So like it's literally chopped off like half my screen. So I can only see like half of Lindsay and Dylan's head.
Oh no.
Not how would you say that? Nair? I don't know if I'd say that like with a Spanish accent or not, but I'm gonna go with Nair Studios said facts 100%, owning your time, building your vision, and not answering to anyone else. That's freedom. Funny thing is, you actually answer your tenants and your contractors when you have a decent rental portfolio. So there's always somebody that's going to be asking something of you, but it's less often than if you had a job. So that's cool. Lars said that the down payment on that property he's referring to, where he would make $40,000 it's a $60,000 down payment plus 10 to 15,000 in repairs. I'd probably just round it up to 20, so say 80. So if you were doing that in like 4 years and you were able to turn it and sell it, just factor in what brokerage fees and everything are going to be, and if that is a pretty high yield, I mean, might be good. Or just go with the cash flow and property and keep building that thing.
Mm-hmm. As opposed to like, what is the money deployed on your 7% yield? Like, how much money would you? Because that's like 80,000 to get 3%, with the possibility of sell like 2 years later to strip the equity or refinance to strip the equity. But how much money to get 7%?
Oh shoot, that's Ray, the Nair Studios. I think he's on a different channel. What's up, Ray? How's it going, man?
Thank you everybody for tuning in onto our lives. Like that's nice that everybody's supporting the live.
Yeah.
Hard Hats Rental said you need to step up your YouTube game, Jack. Post more videos.
I'm kind of relying on live streams here, probably for now until like the end of the year.
Me too.
Just because I'm just in the process of switching careers and the other stuff that's going on. I could honestly do a live just talking about that. Honestly, I should get you guys caught up on everything, but that's really been just taking up a lot of my time, and I just don't have so much time to. Because the problem isn't so much doing the videos. Like the videos, you hop on, you can be like, "Hey guys, it's Jack," and boom, 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 and whatever I talk about. And that's not the part that takes forever. Like I like that part. The part that takes forever is downloading each video from Zoom onto the computer, which takes about 45 minutes. Then doing the edits, which I don't mind doing the edits. They're usually very minimal. I'm just looking for stutters, saying and ooh, ah, ee type of stuff, and I'm just kind of more or less listening while I'm working on other stuff. And then when I come back to export it, that takes like another 45 minutes. And then to upload it to YouTube takes another half hour. But the last half hour, at that point when I'm uploading it, you typically just walk away at that point. and I'm off to the job site, and the computer's just in the Wi-Fi doing its own little thing. And once it's done, I then use the phone to finish it up, thumbnail and all that stuff. But still, like the hour and a half of waiting for it to finish the video and download the video is that's why I'm really liking what we're doing with Restream right now. And I think a lot more of the content is going to switch to lives. And I'm actually thinking about buying a Restream myself because it just makes things so much smoother and so much easier. And I think, I could put out way more content just using Restream.
Yeah, I think it's more original content than what we see on the YouTube videos now. I think a lot of the generated AI videos are like people are moving away from that type of content. I'm not sure. That
Yeah.
is-
No, I like personally seeing a lot more of the content where people are streaming or they're just talking about a topic, because when somebody edits a video together, you can't really tell if they're really an expert on that topic. But when somebody can sit there and you can just hit them with question after question after question, you can listen to them talk about something at length. I feel like that's generally when you can trust somebody's opinion a little bit more and see that they've been in the trenches doing the thing. And of course, not every video has to be like a long form thing. I kind of stopped doing the edited videos just because I would spend like 2 hours writing the script and then like 2 hours recording and messing up and re-recording and so on. And then probably another 2 hours editing. And that would be like a 10-minute video that might get like, I don't know, maybe 100 or so views. So I just kept doing the live streams.
See, I never put that much time into it. And I know that sounds silly, but like, I always just did like I would have a video topic in mind as I'm working, and I would just create a bullet point list, and I would never make a script off of it. Be like, okay, I want to talk about this, these 3 points, this point, these 3 points, and I would just talk. I would just talk to the camera. And I think the biggest thing for me was like getting into that system was actually my outdoor channel, because I just got so used to talking to a camera and just improving most of it. And I know it sounds silly, but like you get used to talking to the camera, and that like someone on the other end is listening eventually, and you don't have to get everything right. That's even like when I edit videos, I'm just taking out the stutters and dead air time. That's all I'm really doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I need to do some more. I'm trying to decide if I want to do like, well, one, I need to do my 2 years in real estate investing. I think that'd be a pretty good video to put out, like what I've learned.
Oh, so, okay, can either me or Lynn interrogate you for that one?
Yeah, you can do that. I was also gonna do a long like actual recorded with my camera and like a clipped microphone and everything like that, and edit something together just to celebrate being an investor for 2 years and then everything that I've learned along the way. But we can also do like a live stream format one too. And then
A deep form interrogation.
Yes, exactly. And then the other thing I wanted to start doing is going over my portfolio's income and expenses every month. I think that would be a pretty easy video for me to put together, of just like, hey, this is what it's actually like being an investor. I know some people show you sunshine and rainbows and talk about gross rent when they're talking about how much money they're making, but I'll show you my expenses and everything.
Yeah, that would be a good content video for sure.
Yeah, and then we got the streams in between, so that helps out. Put out one video every 2 weeks or so. There we go.
Hitting the algorithm.
Yeah, I gotta hit the algorithm. The funny thing is, one of my videos that took the shortest amount of time to do was like this video I showed on how to use like how to pull data, scrape data from financial websites. And it took me like 10 minutes to do the video, but it's contributed to like, I think it was 25% of my subscribers and like most of my watch time. It's ridiculous. But do y'all have anything else you wanted to cover before we end it, or we gonna sign off sometime soon?
I I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, I think we should debrief for next week's topic. So, guys, please tune in next week. We'll let you know
Please
what
leave a comment.
time.
Please leave a comment down below on what you'd like to see us talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be really helpful. If there's some topics that some of the people in the audience want to hear us discuss, throw it there because we're always trying to think of ideas. All right.
Thanks for tuning in to this.
I love this.
On that note, we'll see you next week.